Do you feel behind in life? Feel like you're falling behind everybody, all your peers, everyone's going faster and farther than you are? I think there's probably some inaccuracy to that. I bet you're not as far behind as you think you are. You're probably just on your own journey. I think social media in particular has made it to where everyone feels behind. And I think the reason we all feel behind is because everybody's only posting the best things in life. And I know that's true because that's what we all do. We traveled for 2 years full time and we did the YouTube thing. We YouTubed our journey, and my son used to always ask, why are we only showing certain things? And the reality is that if you just show the boring stuff, no one watches it. You have to show something breaking, the truck breaking down. You have to show epic views of Maine and catching crabs in Boston. You can't show just random little things that no one cares about. And so what ends up happening is that everything is flooded with these success stories of people, whether that's promotions at their jobs or people who hustled to the top or people who, have climbed the corporate ladder, whatever it is. People only show the best of the best. And I think it gives a false perception to everybody else that, hey, I must be behind. But the truth is that there's a lot of people not on social media who have had success. There's a lot of people on social media who are portraying success who really are probably struggling. Maybe the life outside of YouTube or Instagram is falling apart, but they're not going to show that. So I think it creates a problem for a lot of people who are on their way to wherever they should be, but because it's not keeping up with everyone else they see online, they feel like they're falling behind. And those are the people I want to talk to today. We all fall into this trap, and I think the reason is because there is this myth of a universal timeline. That's what I'll call it. And I think it's instituted very early on in life. I think there's this perception of how life should go, right? You go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you get good grades in college, you get out, you get a good job, you progress through that job, you climb the corporate ladder. One day you'll get to a certain point and you'll retire, or you'll retire early, maybe you travel. But there's like all these stages in life that everyone's supposed to go through. And because it's all timed, right? There's only 12 grades in high school. There's 4 years of college, 6 if you go longer. Everything is kind of like timed out. So if you see all of a sudden all of your peers, right? The people you graduated with, the people you know that you're close with, they're further than you. I think people get defeated. They feel like they're falling behind, or they feel like, they've missed something. They've missed something throughout their career. The truth is that hitting milestones at certain ages is irrelevant. It doesn't matter when you hit certain milestones. If you want to be a millionaire, it doesn't matter when you hit it, just did you hit it? Right? Obviously, you'd want to hit it earlier than later, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If you're 3 years older when you get your big promotion than you were than everybody else, what does it matter? It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, as long as you are progressing. I think the truth is that we are all on different chapters. We're all in different stages in life. Everyone has their own journey, and it may be that because of the system, a lot of people seem to be on the same trajectory, the same chapter. It doesn't mean that you have to be. Yes, maybe most 25-year-olds are at X. That doesn't mean that you have to be, right? Some will be higher than that. Some will be at a lower level. Just because there's some sort of system doesn't mean that if you're not exactly where you should be based on all your peers, that you're behind or that there's some issue. And the reality is that life is gonna come at you regardless of your timeline. You're gonna have struggles. You're gonna have peaks, valleys. Some things are gonna go right. Some things are gonna go wrong. And it really doesn't matter what age you are. The lows are going to feel low. The highs are going to feel high. I think as long as you can focus on the journey, I think that's what's most important. You're heading somewhere. You may not be there yet, But just because you're not there yet, or just because you think you're further behind than other people, doesn't really mean that you are. Maybe their roadblock is 2 or 3 years ahead of them, in which case you'll catch up. And the truth is, especially for some of you younger folks, blooming late is not always a bad thing. I think there is a lot of good to blooming late. You know, if you've worked in the career field any amount of time, you've probably come across that young manager who climbed the ladder really quickly, who got there. Maybe they were super efficient at what they did. They're just highly skilled. They get that job. And then what happens, right? Everyone who's known that guy knows he doesn't know how to manage people. He's got no wisdom. He's got no experience. So he just wants everyone to do it the way he does it. Well, that's not the way everybody operates. It would have probably been in his best interest to bloom a little later, because he's probably gonna have trouble getting good quality teams because he's not gonna know how to manage them. It's that same way in everything. Sometimes more seasoning is a good thing. You can see this also in athletes. If you ever look at athletes, a lot of times those athletes that hit it big really quick, they get to the top really quick, huge paydays, and then you watch a 30 for 30 on them later and they're broke. They didn't have the experience, the life experience, the understanding, the knowledge of how it all works. They hit success too quickly. We can do that in our careers. If you're on some speed path to the top, you may make a lot of bad decisions on your way there. Whereas if you're patient and diligent, you're doing a good job, you can make better informed decisions and get to the same spot with less, struggles than the other person, even if it does take you a year or two longer. I think a key to getting over this is to understand what I've already said, which is social media distorts reality. What you see in social media is not the reality of your situation. It may feel like it, you may see a lot of it, but it's not necessarily the reality of what other people are going through. With most people on social media, you are only seeing the highlight reels. Right, that incredibly happy couple, check them when their phone's not on. Right, that lady that is out on every beach in the country, what is she doing when she's not on the beach? How fun is that? Right, I mean, there's so many examples of people that they put out this good image, and you see these other people that are near the influencers taking the same photo. It's not nearly as glamorous. That's the way social media is. It portrays something that influences your mind, but isn't really true. And we ultimately end up comparing different stages in life, right? That person that you're comparing yourself to, maybe they appear further ahead than you. But like I said, maybe they hit hiccups later in life than you did. In which case, at some point, you'll pass them. But you're comparing your stage now to theirs. But maybe you're not at the same spot. And there isn't really anything good to compare yourself to with that person. And a lot of those people will probably tell you, if you were able to ask them, that they did struggle the entire way to get to where they were. And so you're going to have to struggle. I think really and truthfully, if you want to get past this, a huge factor in doing that is to cut back on social media, or at least check who you're following, right? If you are having certain aspirations and there are people who constantly make you feel like a failure, quit watching those people. Find somebody who's struggling through it in the same way you are. Start watching them. Start following them. See what they're about. If social media is sucking the life out of you, quit paying attention to that. The key to getting past it is to just redefine the way you look at success. And I probably say that at least in some form or fashion in every video I do, but that's because I think it's true. You have to redefine what you think success is. Real success isn't always visible to everybody. Sometimes all the steps that you're going through, that you're successfully completing, are your success. You don't necessarily have to always meet some end goal to have success. The journey can be successful if you allow yourself to view it that way. Also, I think that we unfortunately live in a culture that is money hungry and status hungry. And I think the reality is that your values are a far better indicator of your success than status and money are. I don't know about all of you, and you can answer this for yourself, but if I have to choose between being someone who's middle level income, but I'm happy, I love what I do, I get to enjoy my family, even if I hate what I do, but I get to enjoy my family, my job's just a part of it, it funds what I want to do. I'd rather do that than make a bunch of money, be lonely, depressed, filled with anxiety and frustration. I mean, what are your values? And let those dictate what success is to you. Because success isn't the same to everybody. Some people love that high stress, chaotic environment. And that's great, but that ain't me. I want to be happy. I want to love my wife, my kids. I want my faith to be in order, and everything else. As long as we got enough money to eat, I could care less. I just want to do a good job. I don't want to be a burden on my coworkers or anything like that. But at the end of the day, work is just a tool I use to help fund the life that I want. Anytime that you start to feel like you're behind, you start feeling sad, depressed, like you're not where you should be, I think you got to just step back and realize that you're living your own story, your own journey, however you want to phrase that. Living your own story sounds woo-woo, but you're doing your own thing. Focus on you, on where you want to be, on where you're going, and just forget about what everybody else is doing. Who cares? Are you happy where you are? Are you on the path to where you want to be? And if you are, then you're not behind. You're just where you are. So I hope that encourages you. If it did, and if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.